Sexi Mexi. Daniel Willycat.
So Sexi Mexi versus Willycat. We have John Castaneda taking on Daniel Santos. Matt, this is the bantamweight fight that you didn't know you needed, but this is a fight where I go, what the fuck are they doing matching these two guys up?
Why is it so high up on the card, too?
So, again, I said this earlier on in the card because we had a couple of fighters that were incredibly low ranked on Tapology, matching off, scoring off in the UFC. Like, we're talking below regional level fighters that compete at lightweight. For this fight, you go into Tapology, and they have John Castaneda ranked as the 34th bantamweight, taking on Daniel Santos, who's ranked 107th. And when you just focus on the fact that John Castaneda finished Eddie Wineland in his second to last fight. Okay, you can say, well, Eddie Wineland, he's past it. He's not WEC champ anymore. So what? Who cares? Okay, well, John Castaneda went out and then finished Miles Johns. And he didn't just submit him. He dropped him and submitted him in the third round. Castaneda looked very, very good in that matchup. He's only lost to Nathaniel Wood in the UFC. He lost the fight to Jose Aldo all day by split decision over with Combate. He's had big fights in other organizations in very high level situations. That's where that Sexi Mexi sound drop came from. And for Castaneda, his background is wrestling. He comes out of the University of Minnesota, Mankato, which is a giant hockey school. Like a huge hockey school. If you're looking for University of Minnesota, maybe you're Duluth, maybe you're Mankato. But sometimes you come out as a wrestler like John Castaneda, who still trains there at the Academy MN, which is awesome to see. Castaneda is very well-rounded. He's a nice southpaw. He'll bait you into his striking. He's got good kicks. He's got really good boxing combination. And the thing that I like, he can bait you in coming this way, but it'll hurt you going this way. He goes side to side very well. For Willycat, this guy is a wild man. He does spinning attacks. He's very, very fun, but he will walk you down in a high tie stance. He comes out of shoot the box Diego Lima with Alan Nascimento, Thomas Almeida, Charles Oliveira, and the like. But for Willycat, I look at it as level of competition was not bad coming into the UFC, but why did you sign a guy who hadn't fought like 2 years into his UFC debut? Odd. He fights Julio Arce, and I know there's 29, 28s out there and whatever, but guys, like, focus in on this. Daniel Willycat landed 49 of 229 significant strikes for a 21% clip to the 127 of 265 for Julio Arce. He had no answers. Now, was he outmatched in the matchmaking?
100%.
100%. But why the fuck are we doing this again?
I was about to ask that too. Daniel Da Silva's in the same fight he was just in.
I like him.
And he's always going to have fun fights. And that's the thing about guys like these. Are they ever going to get into the rankings and fight people like Dominic Cruz and Chito Vera? Probably not. Well, okay, Castaneda might be able to get up to there. But still, for Daniel Santos, is it going to be the most memorable of runs? Probably not. But still, the fights themselves are going to be entertaining. And like you said, his fighting style is conducive to getting bonuses and being in those bonus winning type of fights, whether he wins or loses, because he does have that very high tie style, but he is kind of reckless with his own striking, even though he can be technical with it. I just look at his game and I compare it to John Castaneda's. Sexi Mexi is so much more well-rounded to where you would mention his game is a lot of wrestling, but you wouldn't necessarily know that depending on which fight you watch. He can go out there and just strike. He does have a good submission ability. He does have good cardio, and he can take a shot too. Now, I do worry a little bit about some of his striking defense if he is able to fight some more of those upper echelon fighters, and maybe the striking style of Daniel Santos is just enough of a wrinkle that it will give Castaneda issues on the feet. I think that Castaneda's plan B is always going to be there if he does need it. If he is having trouble on the feet, I think he is going to be able to put on the wrestling shoes and have enough success in this matchup to dominate purely with his grappling, and I don't even think we're going to need to see that side of his game necessarily.
Santos was said to have had decent takedown defense outside of the UFC. Watching the fights, I didn't think it was the greatest. I thought his striking defense was pretty good because he spins a lot, and he tends to have good cardio for a guy that expends a lot of energy when he does stuff like that. For Castaneda, I'm surprised he's not fighting like Casey Kenny this weekend.
Yeah, that would have been a good matchup.
Instead of Daniel Santos.
It is weird that they're rewarding Daniel Santos with this type of matchup when he is coming off a loss and now he's the third highest fight on the card.
It's really weird. Like, okay, you're gonna wonder, well, guys, why are you saying all this about Daniel Santos? Okay, I'll sell you a different package. Daniel Santos, very good striker, has a lot of power, has submission abilities when it gets to the mat, can take on wrestlers and then submit them on the ground. I mean,
how high level are they?
It can happen. So it is an oddball pairing. It is an oddball matchup. I've said a lot of negative things, and I can say a lot of positive things.
It just feels like a showcase fight for Castaneda, if we're being honest. They're putting him this high up on the card. They're giving him a favorable matchup. Like, it does feel like the UFC is trying to build a star here with the Sexi Mexi.
Castaneda open -150. He's -215 right now. Santos open +130, +175. We have a look at the Tapology votes, Matt. Surprised us there to you. I'm going to say over under 85% Castaneda.
I'll say slightly under, but he'll be the favorite. Over, wow.
699 total votes, 90% Castaneda, 71% by decision. For the 10% that have Santos, 57% by decision. If Daniel Santos wins, he finishes John Castaneda.
I would agree.
He knocks him out when Castaneda drops his hands when he moves backwards. That's a way to do it. Or he submits him when Castaneda takes him down. That's pretty much all I can tell you. For Daniel Santos, I was high enough on him coming into the UFC. Myself and everybody in the MMA community thought that Santos was going to have like a fight of the night against Julio Arce. And instead, he threw super low volume numbers from the outside. And every time Arce went in and out, he was able to land. If Arce can do that, and I think Arce is a very good boxer and striker, then I think Castaneda can do it as well. I need to see it from Daniel Santos. He comes from a perfect gym to get him ready for a matchup like this. But man, I haven't done a video with Fight Night Picks, I don't think, where I've been so one-sided in the analysis.
Listen, if Daniel Santos is able to get the win this weekend, it is a massive boost in his career. It's going to save him like 3 years of time, basically, to get him that much in the forefront of MMA fans' minds. I just think for Castaneda, this is a pretty good stylistic matchup for him. I like his wrestling in this. I even think if he wants to decide to strike for the entirety of it, his volume numbers are good enough, and he is sound enough defensively to where if he doesn't pull out on a weird angle and need a big power shot, I think he's got this one in the bag.
We do this thing as MMA fans, media, the people that cover these fights, and we let one loss define a person, and we let the pendulum swing way too far. But for Daniel Santos, the last time he won a fight was almost 3 years ago against Nazembek Zhuzhanov, who was 7-1 at the time. He armbarred him back with Brave. It's been a long time. I have to see it. I don't want to let the pendulum swing too far with that one loss to Julio Arce, but I've seen a lot more recently out of John Castaneda, who at least put on a competitive fight against Nathaniel Wood, who's now... He's lighting the world on fire at 145. So both of us going with John Castaneda, the Sexi Mexi, get the win. If you have Willycat, which is a part of the a character on the Portuguese version of Thundercat, you let us know. Both of us with Castaneda, Randy Brown, Master Anduba in the co-main event, Dern taking on Xiaonan in the main event. You're not going to want to miss any of it. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say.
Let's get into it.